Hi, this is Liz from Adult Services. I'd like to welcome everybody back to our Fox Lake District Library craft videos. I hope you've enjoyed our previous videos and are looking forward to this new one as much as I am. Today we're going to be making a book page dahlia. For this craft we're just going to need an old book, one that you don't mind ripping the pages out and cutting them up, a 4" by 4" square template, scissors, glue sticks, a wooden skewer, and a cardboard circle measuring roughly 9 inches. For your circle you can use a cardboard box of any kind, a pizza box, a delivery box, say from Amazon or another retailer. The easiest way to measure out your circle is by using a compass like used in geometry class. If you do not have one, you can take a dinner plate or a paper plate that's about 9 inches, put it down on your cardboard, trace around it, and cut it out. So now that I have my circle here pre-cut, I'm going to take a couple of book pages and lay the template right on top of the page and trace around it. So I'm just going to snug it right into the corner here. Tracing up on this line and then over and across. It does not have to be super neat, so don't worry if you're getting pen marks on your template or it's a little scratchy on the page, because once you cut out these squares it'll look nice and neat. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that process on the other page I had pre-removed from the book. Just going ahead, and it does depend on the side of your book how many squares you'll get per page. Because this one's a good size hardcover, I am able to get 2 squares per page. If you're using a slightly smaller book, you may only be able to get 1 square per page. If you do not have a book at home that you're okay with tearing up, cutting up for a project, you can absolutely still do this with an old magazines, catalogs, newsletters, any junk mail that you don't mind cutting up that's headed for the recycling bin anyway. Now that I have my templates traced out, I am just going to cut them out real quick. And then the same with the second page. Just cutting along those nice, neat squares. And I will caution you that similar to our Book Roses project, these shapes that we've cut out now will be folded and glued together, so they won't retain a particular image. If you are trying to retain a particular image, once it's folded over, you won't see it any longer. So don't stress out about trying to make sure you can see a particular photo or painting on any particular template square. Okay. Now that I have all 4 cut out, I'm going to use my glue stick to curl them into cones, which will become the petals of our dahlia blossom. And you know this is good glue because the cap sticks to the glue itself. So I'm just going to, starting with the first one, I'm just going to put my glue right down here along one side of the square. Doesn't matter which one. And once I have a nice line of glue right there, I'm just going to bring this opposite corner over and under so that they meet, and it forms a little cone, just like so. I'm going to put that one aside to dry, and we're just going to repeat it for the next ones. So just put a line of glue down here. If you do not have a glue stick, you can use Elmer's glue if you prefer. Okay. So now that I have my glue right down the side, I'm just going to bring the opposite corner over and then bring this corner to meet it and just slide along each other till it forms a nice little cone. If your end gets a little torn up the way mine just did or smashed, Do not worry about it. The ends will be completely covered, so they do not have to look pretty, be exact. You just want to be getting this nice cone shape up here at the top. And then I'm going to repeat that for my last two, and we'll have 4 ready to go. Alright, so we've got all 4 templates cut out and curled into cones. Now I know what you're thinking is those 4 aren't going to cover anywhere near all of the circle, and in fact you are correct. Before I started filming, I did make and complete roughly 60 other cones. This is a bit of a time-consuming project, although simple, so you may want to start your prep work in advance, maybe a day before, just cutting out the cones, gluing them together, and putting them aside. This is a great project to put on some music, a television show, a movie, and just have that on while you're creating the cones, because they do not require a lot of attention. It's just a very straightforward glue and curl. So I do have my big bag here of pre-done curls, and I'm just gonna pop a few out. Usually 40 to 60 is a good number to start with, and then should you need more, you can always take more pages out of your book or more pages out of your catalog, whatever medium you happen to be using. I'm just going to push these to the side for a moment and bring my circle right up front and center. Just going to put a dab of glue right here on the edge. It does not matter where you choose to start. We're just going to be making circles to fill in. I'm going to take one curl and just put it down. I'm just going to put the curl right down here along on the glue, and as you can see there's roughly about 3/4 to half showing along the outside edge. That's perfect. And then I'm just going to repeat that process going around. I find it easier using the glue stick to just put down glue for each one rather than creating a ring, as it does tend to dry before I get to that spot, and then you have to reapply your glue. I'm just going to keep going, lining up my cones with each other. They do not have to be exact. There will be some blank spaces. Don't worry, we're going to fill those in on our second round. And if you do not have them exactly 100% even, that is perfectly fine. Remember, we are creating a flower here, and in nature, nothing is 100% absolutely perfect. That's what gives these flowers character. So each one will be different and unique. Okay, so now we have our first row set down. It doesn't look quite too impressive yet, but I promise once we start filling in, it's going to be a beautiful 3-dimensional blossom. So picking anywhere you want to start, I'm just going to come right here. Just put down some more glue, a little bit over each of the cones, and then this cardboard section in between. And press down a cone just like so, so that it lies in between those two. Then I'm going to come back and just do the same thing. Repeating, adding that second layer right in every little open spot that I have from my first layer. Just go ahead, give them a little bit of a smush with your finger, which will also help pop the cones up so it gets a more 3-dimensional look. It's only really the tips that need to be pushed down into the glue. If you glue them on top of the row below them, that is absolutely fine. I'm just going to give it a little push. And as you can see, as I continue to add my second layer, I'm rotating it so that the next open spot is right in front of me and I don't have to worry about reaching over and potentially smashing any of the cones that I put down previously. We're just going to keep going around, adding our second layer. Okay, now that we've got our second row in, we're just going to continue going around, putting in a third row. Just going to put some glue down right here between these two that were part of my second row, and place a cone in right there. As you start to get into the rows more towards the middle, the third and interior, it's easy to just give it a little curve when you set it down. That helps it keep its three-dimensional shape and make sure that you've got your tip securely fastened. I'm just going to continue going around. Facing my cones. Oops. If one of them does start to move a little bit like that one did, it's no worries. You can just slide it right back into place. If they end up needing a little extra glue, nothing wrong with that either. This will all dry clear, so nobody's going to see anything. And we're just going to continue going all the way around, placing a third layer of cones and putting them right in between the ones on the second layer. So you can see by putting them in between each other, it fills in and creates that very nice three-dimensional look as the flower builds. Okay, so we have our third row in, and this was actually the point where I did run out of the pre-made cones, so I took a quick minute and made a few more off camera. So we're going to continue adding in, and this is the part, where having the wooden skewer does come in handy. So we're going to put one down here between these two, and I'm just going to use the tip of my skewer to push down with and help it really stay nice and tight. So rather than using my fingers, I'm going to start using the skewer just to get it down in there. I'm going to continue going on, just going ahead, being a little crazy with the glue, no worries about that. We're just going to keep going through. Oops, looks like we need a little more glue here to stick it down. And just still adding our cones, making sure we try to get them right between the two. So everywhere there's this little break, that's where I'm putting the next one. So as you can see, as we put in these more interior rows, we're starting to glue down not just to the cardboard, but to the cones beneath it. That is perfectly fine. It's coming together just beautifully. Okay, so now you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, we're 4 rows in. We've just got this little bit of the interior left. I did cut out some more squares to make more cones because this one does use quite a bit and I'm afraid I've kept running out. So I did start out with about 60 and I've done about 34 more, so you are probably going to be looking at around 100 cones for the 9-inch circle dahlia. So as I said previously in the video, by all means definitely start prepping this maybe a day ahead of when you want to make it. It's a great project to just make these little cones while you're listening to a favorite CD, binge watching a TV show, having a movie marathon. Just a little something to do with your hands and keep you busy. If you find out that you do need more as you're constructing your rows, there's no problem with that. Just take a quick break. Whip up a few more, no worries. So now we are in close to the very end, and I'm just going to kind of lean over and gently swab in some glue into the center, and then place another cone just like so. And then these are the rows where it's really great to have your wooden skewer that you can just use to press in. Oops. And that one, it did not stay. No worries. I'm just going to put a little glue on this side and replace him down in there. There you go. Give it a little smush so it stays. Oops. I'm just going to give this one a little bit of a pre-fold and go ahead and stick it in there. If you do find it easier in these internal rows, you can always flatten out your cones a bit so that they fold nice and easy when you place them down onto the cardboard. And then just pop them open a little bit at the top with your fingers once they're in. So I'm just going to continue going around and filling. Alright, so as you can see, we've got that last row in. So we just have this little bit left in the middle. I'm just going to tilt it up so it's a little bit easier to see. So for this part, I'm going to be using the skewer. I'm going to take the cone and just flatten it a little bit right at the tip, curve it up, and put the glue directly on this bottom part of the cone. So you see, I got a good amount of glue right there. Then I'm going to stick the skewer inside the cone, and I'm going to use that to gently guide it inside the middle and push down so it stays. Oops. So just a little like so. And I'm going to continue repeating that. As you get into the middle, you're going to be filling in the empty spots more, so it's not going to be quite as exact in getting them right between the previous two. So don't worry about that too much. Just kind of put them in as you see these empty spaces. So just giving it a little poke down with the skewer to fill in. And it looks like I just need a couple more. Just like so. I'm going to squeeze that in. Oops. Looks like it got a little crooked when I put it in there, so I'm just going to put a little bit more glue down. And using my skewer, I'm just going to go ahead and just nudge it right down in there. I'm going to take one more, glue the tip, get a nice amount so it just stays nice and solid. I'm going to spin the dahlia a little bit towards me, and then I'm just going to put it in and pressing down with the skewer so that that end point does hit properly and sits down on the cardboard. There we go. And we are finished. We've got a beautiful dahlia. Go ahead, spin it around, checking all angles. So if there is a section that you think looks a little bit empty, you want to put in a second cone, that's entirely up to you. I'm thinking this one looks pretty good, pretty full. If you like to hang it, oops, go ahead and just hot glue a loop of ribbon or yarn to the back side. You can put it face down while your glue dries. It's not too heavy, so it won't smush itself. And then you can hang it up on your wall. It creates a beautiful three-dimensional piece of art. If you use different pages like picture books, catalogs, you can get spurts of color throughout. I definitely recommend this. As I said, overestimate the number of squares you're going to need, because I thought I was going to be okay with 60 and I definitely needed a lot more. Try making your Dahlia out of different materials, different mediums, different sizes, and share with us pictures of your masterpieces. I can't wait to see what you guys have made, and I hope you had as much fun with the paper Dahlia as I did. Don't forget to check out the library's Facebook page for our upcoming program lists and other great craft videos. See you next time!